Hey there, and welcome back to Beyond Beauty with Stephanie. I'm your host, Stephanie Trummel, licensed esthetician and proud owner of Balam Aesthetics in Magnolia, Texas. This podcast is for every woman, whether you're in the thick of a storm, just coming out of one, or standing strong on the other side with wisdom to share. We talk about real life here, faith, motherhood, identity, healing, business, and the unfiltered beauty found in every single chapter. Maybe you're sipping coffee, folding laundry, or white-knuckling the steering wheel in traffic. We've all been there. Wherever you are, I am so glad that you're here. Now let's dive in because our stories matter, our voices are needed, and we're not walking this road alone. So I'd love to start this episode and share a little wellness tip that's been a game changer for me, especially during this season of hormonal changes. I've been taking Energy Bits, a clean, nutrient-dense algae, and y'all, I'm hooked. It has helped me so much with energy, brain fog, digestion, and even my skin and my gum health. I'm not kidding. My mood and mental clarity have never been better. Combine that with daily juicing of organic fruits and vegetables. It's like giving your body a big old thank you every single day. These two things alone have made me feel like I found a secret weapon against the chaos of midlife. And my bathroom schedule has never been more reliable. TMI? Maybe. Worth it? Absolutely. This topic has been kind of a hit lately, and I love that people are talking about it more because it needs to be talked about more. Today's episode, it should be shouted from the rooftops, right? The season of life that sneaks up on us like a ninja with hot flashes, or in my case, cold flashes. Yeah, cold flashes are a thing. Who knew? I had no idea. So I just want to be clear too, I am not a doctor. I'm definitely not here to diagnose or prescribe anything. I'm just a woman walking through this crazy season myself. I've done the late night Googling. I've cried in the grocery aisle at the store. I begged Jesus for some peace during mood swings where I felt like I was morphing into the Hulk. Also, I've felt the heaviness of suicidal thoughts and feeling so alone and so guilt-filled the things I've done and said in this season that I truly felt that the world and my family would be better off without me here. Such a lie from the enemy, but I felt it. It was real. I'd like to talk about some things that they never told us. Most of us were taught menopause starts around 50 and that it's just the moment when your periods stop. Wrong. There is so much more to it than this. What they didn't teach us is that perimenopause, the transition phase leading up to menopause, can start in your mid-30s, and it can last anywhere from a few years to a whole decade. Just really let that sink in. So yeah, you can be navigating toddler tantrums, launching a business, managing a relationship, all while your hormones are throwing major glitter bombs at your nervous system. Everyone talks about the hot flashes, but let's talk about the stuff that hits harder. Random anxiety that makes no sense. Mood swings that make you feel like a guest star in your own reality show. Crying over commercials or cereal. Brain fog so thick you forgot what year it is? Yeah, I've been there. Insomnia, even when you're totally exhausted. Rage that could scare small animals or maybe even your spouse. Depression that creeps in even when life is good. Your skin suddenly starts acting like a teenager's. Your hair is thinning, weight is shifting, joints creaking like an old floorboard. These symptoms are real and too often dismissed as just stress or you're just getting older. Let's talk about the connection between hormones and mental health. Now, here's something that rocked my world. The link between hormones and mental health is massive. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, these aren't just about reproduction. They affect your sleep, your mood, your memory, and your joy. When estrogen dips, serotonin and dopamine follow. That's why you might feel like you're spiraling when everything around you seems fine. You're not too emotional, you're not broken, you're in perimenopause. Hormones have a significant influence on mental health, particularly during life stages like perimenopause. This is a fact that I learned when dipping into some research about perimenopause after going through my own really hard season. Suicide rates. We always talk about the suicide rates with teenagers and how we always often think that's like the worst time and the highest suicide rates. But suicide rates among women undergoing perimenopause and menopause have garnered increased attention due to the significant mental health challenges associated with these life stages. Hormonal fluctuations combined with social stressors contribute to heightened risks of depression and suicide ideation. So just a little facts here. Elevated suicide rates in midlife women aged 45 to 54, a common age range for experiencing perimenopause and menopause, have the highest suicide rates among female age groups. Let that sink in. Women aged 45 to 54, a common age range for experiencing perimenopause and menopause, have the highest suicide rates among female age groups. That's wild. Going through perimenopause brings big changes in your hormones, especially estrogen and progesterone. When these hormone levels go up and down, they can affect how your brain works. They do affect how your brain works. And that can lead to mood swings, anxiety, and depression. On top of that, this stage of life often comes with other stressors, like taking care of family, work pressures, or dealing with health problems. All of this together can make it even harder on your mental and emotional well-being. It is crucial to raise awareness about the mental health risks associated with perimenopause. Educating both healthcare providers and the public can lead to earlier identification and intervention. Integrating mental health evaluations into routine care for women undergoing menopause can help in early detection and treatment of depression and suicidal ideation. Encouraging the development of support groups, counseling services, can provide women with the necessary resources to navigate this life stage. It's not easy, and it's especially if you're anything like me, not easy to reach out and ask for help, or even admit that you need help, or to say out loud, like, I need counseling. I want to go to counseling. I need a support group. I need to talk to women. I often felt like I didn't want to talk about my feelings. I didn't want to be vulnerable because I was afraid of rejection. I was afraid of what I had had my whole life growing up, just being pushed aside and acting like I was being a big baby. So I just didn't talk about it. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health issues during perimenopause or menopause, it's essential to seek professional help. Early intervention can make a significant difference in the outcomes. Now I'm going to get real with you for a minute. Going through this, there were things now looking back that I realized I was going through perimenopause. I was starting that transition and I had no idea. There were signs, there were symptoms, but the craziest part was the mental health part of it. I had no idea what was going on with me. I had no idea what was going on inside of me. I all of a sudden couldn't stand being around my husband. I wanted nothing to do with him. We were disconnected. I was hurting inside because my children had moved away. I was getting ready to lose another child to moving to a different state. All my kids were growing up. It's just like it's like this unexplainable season of life, and I think all of us deal with it differently, and I think it depends on the support you have and the information that you have, right? Like, I knew nothing about menopause, perimenopause, any of that. I laughed at mental health. The word used to just be like, "Oh, brother, someone's feeling sorry for themselves, and they're just using that as an out." Until I experienced it and went through it myself. And I guess that's what I needed, right? I needed to go through that so that I could know and understand, just like anything else, right? You can't understand what it's like to be a drug addict unless you've been a drug addict. You don't understand why people do the things they do until you've done them. And you seem to have a lot more grace then. And so, I'm glad I went through all of this because I want to share the things and just be brutally honest about the way I was feeling. And I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but it is what it is. And I think the more we know, the better off we are at helping ourselves get through this as well. So it's hard. It's a hard transition. It's a hard stage of life, even though it's the beginning of such a glorious stage of life too. Like, now that I'm more educated on it and I'm on the other side of it and things are better, and it took a lot of darkness to get there. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying that has to be your story, but now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm like, man, this stage of life is amazing, really. It's just about me rediscovering me and finding myself again and finding who I am in Christ, I never really looked at it that way before. It's just crazy the difference in the way I look at things now. So I think the more we know, the more we share, the more we can talk to each other as women about these feelings we're having. It's normal. You're not a terrible person. You're not evil. Nothing you go through, and I mean nothing, is worth taking your own life. You are loved, and you are wanted, and you are here for a purpose. The Lord has you here for a reason. Don't ruin that, because there's so much beauty coming on the other side of what you're going through. So anyways, I just wanted to share that. So let's get back to some statistics now. Okay, so the way hormones affect mental health during perimenopause, it's complex, but it's undeniable. Hormonal fluctuations can make you feel like you're not yourself, emotionally, mentally, or physically. Understanding that these changes are driven by hormone shifts can help you approach the experience with more compassion and less self-criticism. It is important to remember that while hormones play a huge role, other factors like sleep, diet, exercise, and stress also contribute significantly to your mental health during this time. Addressing these factors with a holistic approach, such as adding exercise, eating nourishing foods, and managing stress, can help support your emotional and mental well-being as you navigate the changes of perimenopause. And that is something I started before I even knew what was going on. I think I've always kind of used exercise as a stress reliever. When I had quit smoking like 14 years ago, that is the first thing I did was I jumped on P90X and worked my butt off because it was a way for me to relieve stress. It was a way for me to relieve tension. And, anyone who's smoked for any amount of time, who's actually addicted to it, knows that when you quit smoking, you get very grumpy. You have a lot of tension. Like, it's hard. It's was one of the hardest things I've done. But I'm real stubborn. And when I want to do something, I'll do it. And that's what I did. And so I just worked out. In fact, I worked out so much back then that I actually gave myself 2 hernias and didn't know it till years later. But P90X is no joke, y'all. No joke. Anyway, so that's just how I deal with a lot of stress. And I just felt myself changing, and things were, I knew something was up, and I just thought it was my kids leaving and the grandkids going back to Oregon, and that was a huge part of it, but that wasn't all of it. There was all these hormonal shifts that I didn't even realize were going on. Um, they always say like, "Oh, you're in your late 30s. You're way too young for that." Actually, I was in my 40s at this point already. But I did have definite signs in my 30s now looking back. So anyways, I started working out every day. Every day I was working out. I was walking, I was running, I was working out. And I think now, like, thank God I did that. I think it would have been so much worse had I not been working out every day, because that did help. It does help. So I'd like to get into just a little bit more of my journey. I've talked about this in past episodes, but for any of y'all listening that maybe haven't listened to past episodes, let's just kind of touch on that a little bit. And after my daughter and my grandson and her family, had moved back to Oregon, I don't know, I fell into a deep depression. I was sad, it was my whole world, and I couldn't see a way out. In the past, I've been really good about like focusing on the positives and pushing the negatives down and just not dealing with things is really what it was. But you can only do that for so long before it starts bubbling up, right? If you don't deal with it in the right way, it'll eventually explode. And that was my turning point. The combination of the life changes and the hormonal shifts happening in my body, ones I wasn't even aware of, it all created the perfect storm for my fall. And when they left, I wasn't living. I was just existing. I'd come home, do my workout, go straight to bed, lay in my bed, cry, watch TV, scroll hopelessly on social media, trying to fill the emptiness. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I felt like my whole world had ended. I was really just feeling sorry for myself, I was consumed by hopelessness, trapped in a depression that I couldn't shake. And that wasn't like me. I could shake everything before that. And I felt stuck. So over the time, my heart grew bitter, angry. I felt sorry for myself, began doing things that weren't me. I was drinking more than usual. I was drinking a lot. I bought a Ninja bike, driving recklessly, desperate to outrun the pain. I wanted the hurt to end. I had no idea how to make it stop. I walked away from the Lord. I lived in sin and rebellion. And finally, after hitting rock bottom and experiencing major life shift due to my poor choices, that's when the Lord took me under his wing and helped me back up. I began to see the light again. And he held my hand every step of the way. In that healing process, I started learning about perimenopause, something I never even knew existed. I'd only heard of menopause and assumed it was just grumpiness due to hot flashes. And I was so wrong. There's so much more to it than that. And in my learning, I realized I wanted to talk about it and share what I discovered with other women. This isn't talked about enough, and women need to know they're not alone in this journey. And they need to know they're not crazy. We're not crazy. Once I started digging in and learning, things changed. I began to track my symptoms. I started researching hormones and just how much food can be medicine to your bodies and your brains, right? Or it can be poison. I gave myself more grace, and I started focusing on what I could do. I added energy bits and algae to my daily routine, and it helped me with clarity, mood, digestion, and my skin, and my gum health. Yes, my gum health. I know that sounds crazy. I started juicing organic fruits and vegetables to support my gut and fight inflammation. I prioritized movement and rest, even if it's just stretching and breathing. But I wanted to get outside and go for a walk every day. That was like the goal every day for at least 20 minutes. I reached out and talked to other women going through it. I started focusing on eating whole foods, no processed junk, no unhealthy snacks. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't ever anymore. Sometimes here and there, or we go out to eat, you have to treat yourself sometimes. You can't just be 100%. I mean, you can, but boring. The season is hard though, but it is not hopeless. What you can do right now, if anything I've said is striking a chord in your soul at all, here are some things you can try. Track your symptoms on paper or with an app. Work with a provider who understands hormones. Nourish your body. Try whole foods, juicing, clean supplements like algae, which the algae I take is not a supplement. It is straight algae. It is a food. And it is a appetite suppressant. It has a ton of protein. The stuff is amazing. I'm not even kidding. And I actually have a coupon code because I love it so much after taking it that I partnered with them because I have a retailer's permit because I'm a business. And so I have a coupon code. So if you go to energybits.com and you want to order some algae, you'll get 20% off of your order with the code BELLE, BELLE -AME, BELAM, with a dash in between. And I'll put all that information in the notes for this episode. So you can also connect with other women. You don't need to do this alone. You're not supposed to do this alone. You should not do this alone. You are not alone. There's so many women going through this. Connect with other women. Reach out to me. I would love to talk to you about this stuff. And we can get into more detail. Most importantly, though, show yourself compassion. Move your body. Even just a walk, yoga, or light stretching can help balance hormones and improve your mood and reduce your stress. Exercise is a fantastic way to ease symptoms like anxiety, depression, and even insomnia. Plus, it boosts your energy and overall sense of well-being. It just makes you feel good. Midlife isn't just about surviving. It's about learning, growing, and becoming the next version of you. We may not have been prepared for this chapter, but we can rewrite the narrative moving forward. You, my friend, are walking through fire and coming out refined, not burned. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You're not invisible. You're in perimenopause, and you're doing a dang good job. Thanks for tuning in to Beyond Beauty with Stephanie. If this episode helped you feel seen, please share it with a friend, leave a review, or come say hi on Instagram. I want to hear your story. Until next time, nourish your skin, fuel your soul, take your algae, move your body, and remember, you are a beautiful soul inside and out. God bless.